while the stock markets have been gung-ho, the household in India doesn't seem to be sharing that bonhomie, going by the Reserve Bank's two recent surveys done as recently as Friday, the inflation expectations survey and the consumer confidence survey. First, let's go to inflation expectations. 3 questions are asked of the households. How do you perceive inflation now? How do you perceive it 3 months ahead, and how do you perceive it 1 year ahead? And look, even the current perception is 10.3%. They feel inflation is 10.3%. In January, they felt like it was only 8.2%. But if you look at the 3 month ahead and the 1 year ahead, it's a good 50-60 basis points than how they felt inflation will be in Jan when they were asked the same questions. Actually, the 3 month and 1 year ahead inflation that we got, the data that the RBI got, is the highest since 2014. 2014 is important because we were coming out of 4 years of double-digit inflation, and now if inflation expectations are comparable to 2014, you can imagine that it is something worrisome. Also, from 2019, if you look at the graph, inflation expectations have been rising as far as the Indian households are concerned. Let's come to consumer confidence, way more important. When people were asked their current perception of their economic situation, the consumer confidence is pretty low, marginally changed from May, but look at the fall from June. I mean, it's a steady fall in their perception. It's about the lowest perception in many years, probably a decade. When people were asked, how do you find yourself 1 year ahead in terms of your economic position, it's marginally better than how people were feeling in May, and that may be because by 1 year ahead, they expect a large part of the population to be vaccinated. But even that 104 is a very poor comparison to the 1 year ahead perception that people had of their own consumption, say since June 2015. Again, this is almost a decadal low in terms of consumer perception. If you looked at, the consumer perception is divided into many things, your view of employment, income, etc. Their view of employment was really poor. Most consumers said that it was as bad as it was last May, when we were just coming out of a lockdown, and the perception when it comes to inflation, as we already discussed, has worsened considerably to almost as bad as it was in 2013 when we were coming out of double-digit inflation. However, the one silver lining is the 1 year ahead inflation perception expectation was not as bad as it was in 2013. That's some consolation. But when it comes to income, and this is really the most pathetic answer, the perception of their own income is the worst that people have answered since 2012. So quite clearly, irrespective of what you have in the economy, people don't perceive that their income has improved. And this is something of particular importance to the corporate sector and the stock market. Perception of spending that consumers have on non-essential goods is the worst that they have felt since 6 years. The current perception is bad, and their perception of 1 year spending, 1 year ahead spending on non-essential goods is also still very poor, and again the worst since many years, practically since the survey began. So the bonhomie in the established companies is not shared by a large percentage of Indian households.